Hi. So last week we talked about consent and media release forms as part of the ongoing back to school series that I'm running of free tidbits of information that parents really need to know about your legal rights and protections at K-12 public schools. This is not for private schools. This is for children enrolled in a traditional K-12 public school system. Because many charter schools are part of the public school system. Many charter schools will have to abide by these laws. And homeschooling students, you kind of run your own show. So these are for kiddos that are in the traditional public school. So today we're going to talk about FERPA. What is FERPA? If you're a military family, welcome to a new acronym that you all need to know, memorize, and use on a regular basis in your child's classroom. If you are not a military family, this is a fun acronym for you to know and use as well. Plus, it's really fun to say, FERPA. That's really fun. What it stands for is the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, and this is basically HIPAA, but at school. Just like HIPAA guarantees that doctors cannot release your personal identifiable information and medical history to just anyone, FERPA guarantees pretty much those same rights when it comes to your child's educational file. So FERPA basically says that people will not have, the general public will not just have access. I couldn't walk into a school and ask to look at John Smith's permanent record. I couldn't do that. I have no connection to John Smith. I am not his biological or custodial parent. I am not an identified official that should have access to his file per a court order. I don't work at the school. I am not an accredited organization that might need to review a file to determine if a school is going to continue to be accredited. I have no dog in this fight. I don't have a reason to look at it. I cannot look at John Smith's file. Here's who can look at John Smith's file. Any member of the administrative team in your child's school, any teacher or case manager or therapist in the school that is working directly with your child or is a member of a team that is making educational decisions about your child, a custodial parent, a biological parent, unless a court order prevents that biological parent from gaining access to your child's material. Oh gosh, there's a laundry list. If there's financial aid involved, your child might have records released to individuals from a financial aid organization. For auditing purposes. So what happens sometimes is that, or every time it should happen, schools are accredited by national and sometimes international organizations, and to meet the accrediting process, they will pull student records and just kind of take a quick glance through, just make sure that I's are dotted and T's are crossed and everything appears to be in order. So sometimes it's every child's record, sometimes it's like a 10% or 20% review where they just pull about 10 or 20% of total student records and just take a quick gander. And things like health and safety, so reviewing, perhaps the school nurse or another outside doctor is going to be doing some health stuff and your child is involved. And state and local authorities, particularly within custodial agreements, judges that are reviewing custodial agreements, and within like the juvenile justice system, things like that, family court. So basically, a person that is directly involved with your child's life or with ensuring that the school your child attends is progressing and meeting regulations, or someone that is ensuring your child has financial aid needs met. Basically, someone that is involved in your child's education. Those people have rights, and that includes you as either the custodial per a legal agreement, so that might be a custodial grandparent or aunt or uncle or other adult, a foster parent, or a biological parent, so biological mom, biological dad, an adoptive parent. Those people all have access to your child's records. But I can't go in and look at it, and your child's teacher from last year cannot go back in and just check in and see how your child is doing. And those records cannot be released to anybody that does not have a dog in your child's school fight. This is super duper important because a lot of times people don't realize, parents don't realize that these things happen, that your child's records are sacred and secret and can only be shown and released to certain people. This is something that everyone should know, much like HIPAA. You should know that your child is protected at school. In addition, FERPA also gives parents the right to view, review, and correct their child records. This is really important when we're talking about things like disciplinary records, attendance records, special education, notes that might have been stuck in there about a child's behavior at school or an incident at school. You have the right to go in and review those records and request that a correction be made to inaccurate information, or if the school refuses to accept your corrected information, that you can put a letter in your child's file in order to note that you are disagreeing with what is in the permanent record and that this is your view on it, and that will follow your child forever. You also have the right to access all of these materials whenever you request. Generally, schools request at least one business day before you come in to check out your child record, just so they can make sure that everything is there and everything is in the right place, and that the school registrar knows you're coming, or whoever handles the records knows you're coming. The other thing that is important is that you should know that schools, while your child's academic record, like test scores and things, is kept secret and is not released publicly, your child's, it's called directory information, that stuff can be released publicly. So directory information are things like your child's name, your child's address, your child's telephone number, date and place of birth, honors and awards, and dates of attendance. So some of these things are released in very specific ways. So it's not like your child's school is going to be going to the newspaper and saying John Smith goes to blah, blah, blah school in blah, blah, blah grade, and this is his home address. No, it's probably going to be released like through a school directory that's sent to other parents or other families in the district that says John Smith is in Mrs. Jones's class, and he lives here, and this is his phone number, and this is his mom's email address if you need to get in contact with them. For things like class parties, getting together socially, PTO, PTA, volunteer organizations, things like that. However, much like media consent, you have the right to opt out. You can say that I do not wish this information to be released in any way, shape, or form, and you can be very choosy about it. FERPA requires that schools notify parents and students annually about their rights about FERPA and provide a reasonable amount of time to request that schools not disclose that directory information. And if you want to read the entire FERPA regulation, go ahead and go to the second link in the video description. That has the complete guidelines, and that's what I have in front of me right now. So you could be really choosy and say, well, I would like my child's name and my email address to be included in the school directory, but I really don't want our home address listed, and I don't want my phone number listed. You could also say that I prefer not to have my child's name released, even in the event of honors and awards being given, and your child's name just won't be in the newspaper or released via social media for, say, high school honors society awards. Your child's picture will not be released, their name won't be released. So you have the right to opt out of that. The one thing that I do want to clarify is that FERPA is a great law, and it is the best law to protect your child's records, to get you access to records, and to help you to narrow down what directory information is and is not released, and to correct information too. However, many parents wrongly quote this as the law that allows them to make copies of their child's information. So military families and any family that moves or has moved knows that, that when you enroll at a new school, you need to have your official copy of your child's records, and that is usually sent school to school. However, when you enroll, it's best practice to have an unofficial copy of your child's record. That means an actual copy that you made of your child's record that you just hand carry between locations. And this is best practice, so that your child will get off on the right foot in the new school, so that they will have all of the information they need, from test scores in order to place them in the correct classroom appropriately, perhaps gifted or special education, any education plans, IEPs, 504 plans, gifted education plans, teacher notes, report cards, medical history, vaccination reports, enrollment history. All of those great things will help your child to be placed in an appropriate program faster than perhaps waiting for that package to come from your last school to get to your new school. And this is protected for military families under the Military Child, it's MIC3, Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission. And we'll talk about that in another video for military families specifically. However, FERPA does not, let me repeat, does not give you the right to make copies of your child's record. Every school will let you make copies of your child's record or request copies of your child's record. FERPA just grants you the access to look at your child's record. And I want to be very clear about the difference between looking at your child's record and having a copy of it, right? So this would be like going to the library. I have the right to go to a public library and look at a book, correct? I do not have the right to go to the public library and take a copy of the book home and keep it myself without paying for it. In that vein, every school will let parents look at their child's record. However, schools do reserve the right to charge for making copies of your child's records. And that could be a per page fee, like 15 or 25 cents a page. It could be a time fee, an employee time fee, where they're charging X amount of dollars per minute or per hour that it takes an employee to make those copies, or it could be a combined fee where they're charging both per page and for time. Schools will waive those fees if you can show financial hardship, which generally requires you to disclose financial information to the school about why you can't afford to pay 10 or 25 cents a page, or why this will be a financial burden, because all of those pages kind of add up. 25 cents per page is great for the first 10 pages, and you're at $10 or $2.50 or whatever it is. It's not very expensive for the first little bit. But then, you get to 100 pages, and for kiddos with IEPs or complicated medical files or complicated information or ones that have moved a lot, you're talking hundreds of pages sometimes. And so that can be a lot of money for parents to plunk down. There are some workarounds. You can ask for pages to be scanned. You can offer to scan them yourself. You can offer to bring in your own paper. You can offer to copy them yourself. You can ask the teacher for some of the important tests and data, because I know as a teacher I could just pull up the information that I needed for test scores, for education plans, and I could just print it off and have a copy for my own personal use in the classroom. Many teachers are more than happy to email you a copy of that. You can just have to ask. But this is a law that not many people know about, is FERPA. So I want to make sure that all of you know about FERPA, know that you have the right to look at your child's record at any time, the right to make corrections or request that a letter from you about your preferred corrections be placed in your child's file, and that not just anybody off the street can access your child's file. It's only people with a stake in your child's education or others as identified by the federal law, the FERPA actual law, and that you have the right to control what directory or non-PII, but it is really PII, what directory information is released. However, FERPA does not guarantee you the right to make those copies, nor does it guarantee you the right to free copies of your child's record. If you have questions about how FERPA can be used for you and your family, please reach out to me. This is one of the services I offer families through coaching, is teaching families about education laws, not in a legal way, but just sharing the information, not making a legal judgment about whether or not it's applicable, but just sharing what's out there. This is one of the ways that I can help coach families to success in school. There are many tutors out there who can help your child find success academically, but there's a huge gap in knowledge when it comes to parents in schools. You don't know what you don't know, and many of us are still operating off of information that we learned in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s about how schools operate, why schools operate, and the best practices used to help our children succeed. Instead of fumbling around in the dark, please let me help you. Let me work with you and your family to find success, whether it's identifying ways that you can use laws perhaps to help your child, step-by-stepping you through the IEP process, helping you find homework solutions and setting up a great homework routine or homework zone at home, or even setting goals like I'm doing for some of my clients this summer with sharing specific ways and strategies that they can work on summer learning. I would love to work with you, so please just reach out to me if you're interested in learning how education coaching for parents can help your family succeed in school.